What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about this guy right here. This is the Netgate SG-1100 firewall. This video is going to be divided into two parts. The first part, we're going to talk about an issue that I ran into, which is I was trying to upgrade the software in the firewall, and while the upgrade was going on, I accidentally disconnect the power cable, and that kind of messed everything for me, and the whole thing got caught in a loop where it could just start up and then goes in a loop, and it won't go through the whole startup phase. So I had to go through their website, read a little bit more, and try to find out information. I couldn't find that much information about it, so I figured I'd make a video about it. And we are going to talk about how to get, install or reinstall the pfSense Plus software on the Netgate hardware or any other hardware that you have as well. Because when you do buy the Netgate hardware itself, you do get the pfSense Plus software. You can request it, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And you can get the image, and you can bond that image to USB and be able to use it to install it on something else. So we're going to go through that process today. On this video, we're going to go through how to install the pfSense software on the Netgate hardware. And in the second video, we're going to talk about the firewall in detail. We're going to talk about why I decided to get this firewall, why I think a firewall in your lab environment is very important, because it teaches you a lot of the concept that you need to understand in terms of like netting, in terms of like setting up a lot of other things that you need to understand when you start working in the IT field. It has helped me understand a lot of concept of the current firewall that I have in place. But it's time for me to change it up a little bit, so that's why I decided to get this guy. So in the next video, which is next week, we're going to talk about the current firewall that I have in place, why I've decided to go with this guy, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this guy in detail. But for today, let's go ahead and get the video started on how to install or reinstall the pfSense Plus software on the Netgate firewall. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing you need to do to be able to reinstall the pfSense Plus software on your Netgate firewall is that you need to, well, get the image of the software. And to do that, you cannot just get it online. You will have to go to their website. I'll put it right here. You will have to go to their website, fill out a form, and they're going to ask you for some information on the firewall itself. They're going to ask you for a couple of information. They're going to ask you for your reason for wanting to get the image software, and you're going to explain that. And once you do all of that, you're going to send in an email to them saying that, hey, I need the pfSense Plus software. And just to be clear, to be able to get the pfSense Plus software, you have to buy this guy right here. You have to have bought this guy right here from their website. For every Netgate hardware that you buy, you can get the pfSense Plus software for free. So you can request it. And then you give them the information that they require, and they're going to send you the pfSense Plus software in like a zip folder, unzip it, and then you're going to be able to bond that image to a USB flash drive. So for step number one, go to their website. Link will be in the description as well. Fill out the form, give them the information that they require, they're requesting, and then send it to them. They're extremely fast. I send the information to them like, let's say I send it to them like early in the morning. 5 minutes later, literally 5 minutes later, they responded back with this email saying that, hey, this is where you can download your pfSense Plus software or image. This is where you can check the checksum to make sure the image is valid, and so on and so forth. And they give you more information if you need it, as you can see on the screen right here. So step number one, go ahead and request the pfSense Plus software from Netgate, download that, and then we're going to move on to step number two. Guys, so this is step two. So for step one, basically what we did is we contacted Netgate and tell them that, hey, can I please get the pfSense Plus software? They sent us a zip folder of this image. Once you receive that, you're going to need to extract this image, and once you extract the content of that zip folder, you will get this image right here. So this is what we want. So now basically in step two, what we're going to do, we're going to bond this image, we're going to write this image to a USB stick. And to do that, we're going to use a software called Etcher. They recommend Etcher. I also do. I've used Etcher. I pretty much use Etcher every time that I have to do some sort of write into a USB stick or an external hard drive. Anything that has to do with like an image, writing it to an external hard drive, I always use Etcher. Great software. You can also use Rufus, but I don't use Rufus that often anymore. I used to. I run into some problem, then I switch over to Etcher, and I've been using them ever since. You can use the Pro version as well, but I've never used the Pro version before. So once you download that, you can use it on Mac and on Windows. For those of you guys that have Mac, by the way, I'm going to go through that process over there as well. Well, I'm going to show you guys. I'm not going to go through the whole process again. I'm going to show you guys how to go through that process over there as well. And the final installation is going to be on a Mac computer, so you guys can just see the whole process on a Mac computer if you guys are using Mac computer as well. So once you download that, I've already downloaded it. You're going to run it, and we're going to minimize this so this guy comes up right here. And of course, you want to know where your ISO is located. It's located on my desktop. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we want to select this file, the ISO image that we want to burn right here. And then it's going to ask us, hey, what do you want to use? It's already using my USB stick. It's already selected my USB stick. Now if you want to change it, you can change it, but that's actually what I want to use. So go ahead and click select, and then all you have to do now is click flash. So basically what it's going to do right now, it's going to go through the process of writing this ISO image into our USB stick. So it has completed. So we have flashed the ISO onto the USB that we have attached. Everything looks good. So that part is done. Now we're going to move on. When I excited that, now we're going to move on to the next part, which is installing the software that we just flash into this USB to the Netgate hardware. So for step three, we're basically going to install the pfSense software on the Netgate hardware. I'm going to show you guys how to do this on Windows as well as Mac. It's going to be a little bit lengthy, but I figure I kind of do both for those of you guys that have Windows and for those of you guys that have Mac. So you can see the whole process on how to go through to install the things that you need to download, the things that you need to run to be able to install the pfSense software on the Netgate hardware. I'm going to go through a little bit of an extensive process in the Windows part of things. For the Mac part of things, I'm going to go through the final installation there, but I'm just going to show you guys the same concept that we did on the Windows part of things and then kind of finish it off on the Mac side of things. So let's go ahead and get step 3 started, installing pfSense on the Netgate hardware. So now we're going to move on to step 3. So for step 3, basically we're going to need a software that's going to allow us to connect to our Netgate device, right? So the way it works, and I'm going to show you guys the physical connection when we switch over to the Mac computer here, but for now the way it works is that we need a USB Type-C coming from the device to a USB connecting to our computer. Now after we do that connection, we need some sort of software that allows us to connect to after doing the physical connection, we need some sort of software that allows us to connect to the device from our computer. And PuTTY allows us to do that on the Windows computer. On the Mac computer, it is something called Serial. We're going to take a look at that, but on Windows, it's called PuTTY. So you want to click on download, and you can choose whatever version you're using here, and then you can just click on that. And after that, you can run it. I'm not going to go ahead and run it here because that's just extra stuff that is pretty simple. You just accept the URL and then just go through next, and then install. Now, the next thing that you need to install after we install the software, we need something that allow Windows to be able to recognize the driver for the Netgate device, right? And to do that, we need to install the drivers. So Netgate recommend this drivers right here to be able to allow Windows to be able to see the Netgate device that's connected to it. So to do that, you go to download, and if you don't download this and run it, your Windows computer is not going to be, you're going to see what I'm talking about in a minute. Your Windows computer is not going to be able to see the Netgate device. So once we do, or it might see it, but you will not be able to use it because it's not recognized, right? So you definitely need to be able to download the drivers to be able to use to be able to connect to the Netgate device. So once you do that, you can click on Windows drivers, universal drivers, and it's going to download it, and you're going to run this device, right? Or install this drivers on the device, but you're going to need to install those drivers on your computers for Windows to be able to see it. So once you have these two things set up, what you want to do now is you want to go ahead and run PuTTY. As I said, I already have PuTTY installed. and we're going to say we want a serial connection, and it's going to point to COM-1. That's not what we really want, because that's not the port that is being used by our Netgate device. So now what we want to do, you want to right click, doing Windows 11, whatever Windows version you run is the same thing. Right click on the Windows icon and then click on Device Manager. Device Manager is going to open this guy up. Now what we're looking for, so this is one of the things that I was saying. So if your device is now recognized, so Windows is going to see it, but it's not really going to recognize it, and there's going to be a whole bunch of problem. You're not going to be able to see it. But what we're looking for, I'm going to close that so we're not confused, because we've installed the drivers, right? We're looking for this guy right here. Now, if you don't see this guy and you see it here, but you don't really see it, what you want to do is you definitely want to install the drivers for whatever it is that you are trying to run. In this case, we're trying to do this guy right here. And this is where this guy comes in, right? Because if you don't see it, you will see the name here, and you will just right click on it, and you will say something like update drivers, and you will say search. You don't want to search automatically because it's not going to find it. You're going to click browse, and wherever this is located, you're going to need to extract this file. So showing folder here, you're going to need to extract this guy. Let's extract there. Yep, that's fine. Once that's done, now wherever that's located, let's go back to this guy. Wherever that's located, you're going to browse, and you're going to say, hey, it's located in the downloads. It's this guy right here. It's going to select, and you're going to click next. And then once it's done, it's going to tell you that it has been installed. Now, I think I selected the wrong one, but that's the process for installing the drivers. And you're going to need to be able to do that. I selected the wrong one, but I've already installed it. So you can close that. So once you do that, your stuff is going to be able to, your computer is going to be able to see the drivers right here. It's going to be able to see this device right here, which is the Netgate device. So now what we're looking for, as you can see, this is COM5. So now if we go back to PuTTY, we're going to tell it, hey, COM5. All right. If I can COM5, no, it's done. And then we want to change the speed. The speed that Netgate recommend is 115.200. So once you do that, you tell it COM5, basically we're connecting to the sky. You click on open. It's going to connect to the Netgate device, and we should be able to see everything that's in the device. Let me go ahead and restart that guy. So as you can see, I just turned it on. You can see the Netgate device coming on and everything that we need to see. Now, we are going to go through the final installation process. We're going to go through the final installation process on the Windows, but this is how you connect to the Netgate device itself. And of course, we're going to go through the final installation process in Windows, but up to here, it's going to be the same process, and the command that's going to go in after here is going to be the same, right? And the view that you're going to receive, it's pretty much going to be the same, but I just wanted to show you guys how to connect to it in the Windows environment. So this is how you connect to it. So now let's switch over to the Mac computer, and let's go through a similar process. I'm not going to go through all the process step by step, but I'm just going to show you guys the same thing for those of you guys that want to connect using Mac. And then once that's done, we can go ahead and install the software to the Netgate device. So let's switch over to the Mac computer, and I'll show you guys the physical connection over there as well. We're at the Mac computer. I'm going to show you guys the physical setup. So I have everything open up in here, and this is how I messed things up in the first place, because I was trying to upgrade it and I kind of disconnect the cable, and then everything got messed up when it was upgrading. So I had to go down this rabbit hole of getting the software and all that stuff. So what we did over there basically is that we flashed the ISO that were the pfSense ISO that we received from a Netgate. We flashed it to this USB. Now you can do the same thing here. This is what I was talking about, by just going to Etcher, downloading it for Mac, running it, same process. Click on flash, select the ISO, and then select the target disk. So in this case, you will need this guy, but in a Mac computer, of course, you need some sort of adapter, which is which I have right here. Connect it in there, connect this guy in here, connect this guy here, right? And then you'll be able to flash, do the same process, flash. I'm not going to go through it because it make the video long, but you get the idea. Then you will flash, just follow the same process, and you'll be able to flash the ISO that you receive from Netgate to this guy right here. That was basically the initial step that we just did over there, right? So now the only difference is now for connecting to the Mac, for connecting to the Netgate. Let me just show you guys the connection here. So this is the Netgate hardware right here. To connect to it, as you can see, we have USB type C right here, which is going right here, right? And then of course here I have a USB adapter right here, and on a Windows computer you will connect the USB directly into the Windows computer, but on the Mac of course you need an adapter, and we're just gonna plug that in. All right, just snap that in. So once that's plugged in, now over on the Mac computer, you notice that we had to, one, download a driver, and two, we needed to use PuTTY. But here, let me just get rid of that. We don't need to use PuTTY. We use this thing called Serial, right? This Serial is pretty good. It's a paid software, but it's very similar to PuTTY. It allows you to connect things like this guy right here over USB on a Mac computer. The cool thing about this guy right here is that you don't have to download the software, even though the stuff is off, right? On a Windows computer, if it's off, it doesn't recognize it. If you go to Device Manager, it doesn't recognize it. But on a Mac computer, even though it's off, it picks it up already and tells you that, hey, this is one of the things that you want to connect to. So you just click on that guy right here and you click open. Again, Serial is a paid software. You can download it on the Mac App Store, and I think it's like $30 something, but very useful, especially if you're studying for CCNA and all this other stuff. Very useful stuff. So once you click open, it's gonna open the port right here, and of course you don't see anything because, well, the device is not on, but it's still recognizing anyway. So the one thing that you need to do is the same thing that we did over there. You want to go to terminal and you want to click on settings, and you want to change that. Remember, on the Windows computer we changed the speed to 115200, so you want to do the same thing here as well. You want to change that speed to that, and then you want to click OK. That's pretty much all you have to do. So very similar process, but I just wanted to show you guys on a Mac computer, and we're going to go ahead and go through the installation of this guy to this guy on a Mac computer. And from here, it's pretty much the same thing. The command that we're going to run here, you will run the same thing on a Windows computer, but I figured I'd do it on a Mac computer just to round things up. So now, since I have one hand, I don't know how I'm going to do this. We're going to insert this guy right here. Hopefully I can get away with it. Yes, I can. And then we're going to connect the power. But before we connect the power, one of the things that I want you guys to pay attention to, or the thing that we're going to need to do, is that as soon as we connect the power, when it's going through the booting phase, we're going to need to click a button so you can take it, so it doesn't go through the complete booting phase, right? We're going to need to click the button so that booting phase get interrupted, so we can tell it to run the USB recovery and be able to install the software that we have here onto this guy right here. So let's go ahead and power it up. It's so hard to have one hand and be doing everything. It's so tricky. I feel like there's no static stuff here. I'm gonna completely just fry this stuff. I'm gonna completely just fry it, but things I do for YouTube video, right? Alright, let's try to. I think I'm gonna need to. 1 second here. Need to use my other hand here. Don't try this at home, by the way. You can completely fry this board by doing some stupid stuff like this, but I'm a one-man team, so I have to do it. So now just make sure this is fully connected, and you're gonna see that it's starting to come up here. So we're gonna let it do its thing. Now we're gonna keep clicking any button, right? It's not gonna completely boot up. We're gonna click any of this button, any button, doesn't matter. I normally click the space, but it doesn't really matter. And then it's gonna take you into the Marvel mode. So you see that? That's where we need to be. So basically now we're going to tell it that, hey, we have a USB and we want to run a USB recovery, and we want you to install whatever is here on the internal memory and write that to that guy right there. So basically what we're going to type is run space USB. We're going to type in run space USB recovery. Right, that's the command that you need to type to tell the device to say run the USB recovery, and then write whatever is on the USB to the internal drive right there. Now we're going to click enter. I'm clicking enter, Again, this process is the same. Before I click enter, this process exactly the same for Windows, right? The only thing that's different technically for the Windows is the device that you're using to connect to the hardware, right? So once that's done, we're just going to click enter, and it's going to go through its process. This process normally takes a while, right? It's going to go through an installation process. It's going to ask you, what do you want to install? What kind of file system do you want to install? Do you want to overwrite whatever is already installed in the internal memory? You're going to say yes, but we're going to see all of it here. So let's just give it a couple of seconds and let it go through all the same process. Okay, it's doing its thing. It's right in there. I had to go digging for this information because after I went through the whole thing and I messed it up, and I'm like, oh my god, and it's like I was like troubleshooting it. I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna reinstall everything because it was giving me a headache. Right, when all else fails, you just reinstall it. And the funny thing is, it wasn't even getting to the settings where it tells me to reset it to a factory. I even tried the default reset button on the back of it. That did not work. So yeah, and it's going through the installation. It's the pfSense Plus, and it's asking you like, what file system do you want to use? Now you can read up on this, but I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say UFS, and then I'm going to click enter. It's going to ask you, do you are you sure you want to continue? Basically, do you want to, this by the way is the internal storage device that's on this guy right here. Right, so asking you, hey, do you want to kind of continue? This is going to override things. You're going to click Y for yes, and then you're going to click to make it calculate, but yeah, click Y for yes, and you're going to click enter, and you can see it's erasing everything that's on it right now to basically write whatever is in here to the internal guy, which is this guy right here. Again, this process is pretty much the same on a Windows computer, but I figured I'd do this on a Mac. So whether you have a Mac or not, or Windows, you should be able to go through the process, either or. It's going to go through the erasing the EME content. This is going to take some time, by the way. Maybe I shouldn't show it because then this will make the video super long. As you can see, this may take a few minutes to complete. So basically, not to keep the video long, I'm going to cut the video for here for now, let it go through the process. You're going to see a couple of things come down, and then once it's completed, I'm going to bring the video back up. Remove the USB because we don't need it anymore. It's telling us to recycle it. Now, you can either just kind of like disconnect it and reconnect it, or you can find the reset button in the back of it, which is on the back. I don't know if you guys can see it. And if you just press it, right, and then let it go, it's going to reboot it. Right. I wasn't going to go through the disconnect and reconnect. It's a lot of work. It's just, my hand can't handle so much. So it's going through the whole stuff now. This is the problem that I was having, by the way. It loops and it just puts into single user mode instead of multi-user mode. I mean, I literally tried everything to get it to put into multi-user mode, but it wasn't letting me. It wasn't having it. But that was my fault. I messed things up. So, but got it all back and running. So as you can see, it's doing its thing. You can see an extra light coming up there telling you that it's going through a couple of stuff. And so you can see it is going through a couple of stuff. It's going to go through the whole boot up process, set up a couple of things. And then for next week's video, we're going to talk about how to connect it, some of the features that come with it, and some of the things that I like about it. In terms of like configuration and stuff like that. But today I just want to show you guys the struggle that I went through to reinstall pfSense on it. So it's going to go through everything. It's going to tell you it's configuring the LAN, the VLAN, it's configuring this, going through that. So you can see, yeah, nothing is pretty much configured on this right now. It's kind of like a complete install, a clean install. But yeah, so pretty much I'm not going to hold you guys here because it's going to take some time to go through this other process, but that's it. So you're pretty much done. Once it completely go through the startup phase, where it gives you a couple of more options that you initially saw on the one that I just showed you guys, you're good to go. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't done so already and if you enjoyed the video and the videos help you out in some way, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. If you have any question, make sure you hit the comment box below and let me know what your question is. I try my very best to respond to each and every comment. Sometimes I do miss some, especially a reply, because for some reason YouTube don't notify me when someone reply to something that I've replied to. But I try my very best to respond to each comment. So if you have any question, make sure you hit the comment box below and let me know. Lastly, I really appreciate the 1,000 subscribers. I finally hit 1,000 subscribers. I know it's something small, but I did promise myself that if I hit a 1,000 subscriber mark, I'll put in a little bit more effort to try to grow the channel to something a little bit bigger, and I have. So I have to keep my promise. So now, so now the videos have to come out a little bit more faster than before, and I'm going to put a little bit more effort than I have been putting in the past year or so that I started this channel. And I really appreciate all of you guys that have subscribed. And as I say, this whole thing is going to be me documenting my journey, me going explaining some of the struggles that I go through, and you guys getting to see that. For those of you guys that are starting, for those of you guys that want to do this, you get to see the bad and the good part of the whole thing. So I really appreciate all. I really appreciate all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel. I'm so excited I can't even talk. I really appreciate all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel. I'm going to amp it up a little bit more and start coming out with more video and start putting a little bit more time into building the channel. So thank you for subscribing. Thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Turn on your notification. It's going to be a lot more stuff coming. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys next week. And as always, do not forget to stay geeking. Peace.